Episode 6, An Extra-Large Misunderstanding. A Bad Surprise. 3 scientists, Papaia, Banani, and Ravioli, and their assistant Igor work at the Nasal Observatory. During a trip to a big conference, they find some interesting books and start getting into creationism. But their bosses don't like this new interest. The 4 are called into the boss's office, where he tells them they'll need to pass a psychological test to keep their jobs. But they go to the wrong door by mistake. We are in the infirmary in which Ravioli has just entered. Nurse: So, Ravioli, tell me, have you experienced any symptoms like fever, muscle pain, nasal congestion, or bone pain? Ravioli, confused: No, I haven't had any of those symptoms. Why are you asking? Are these symptoms related to our problem? Nurse: What kind of world do you live in, Ravioli? Haven't you ever heard that these are the main symptoms? Ravioli, pretending to know: Ah, of course. Obviously, who wouldn't know that? Come to think of it, last night I didn't sleep well, and this morning I have a bit of a headache. Or nurse, writing in a notebook: Let's see headache, insomnia very well. All right, let's proceed. The nurse gets up and rummages through a cabinet. After retrieving a plastic-wrapped item, he turns back to Ravioli. Nurse: All right, now look up and open your mouth. Ravioli, confused: What? The nurse is holding a nasal swab. Nurse: Sorry, Ravioli, but we only have the extra large swab left. It's slightly larger and more painful than the standard one, but don't worry, it'll be quick. Ravioli: What does the swab have to do with the psychological test? Nurse, confused: What psychological test? This is the infirmary for COVID testing. The psychologist's office is the room next door. Ravioli: Oh, all right, thanks. Sorry for the trouble. I'll leave right away. Nurse: Oh no. Now that I've opened your file, I have to do the swab. I can't leave this incomplete or I'll get in trouble. Ravioli: Please don't make me do the swab. I'm not mentally prepared for this. Nurse: No excuses. Stop acting like a baby. A quick pinch and it's done. Ravioli: No. Nurse, looking up: Darn, they still haven't fixed that leak in the ceiling. It's right above your head. Instinctively, Ravioli looks up. Taking advantage of the distraction, the nurse swiftly inserts the extra-large swab into Ravioli's nose and throat. Ravioli screams in pain. Igor, commenting later: Ravioli went through the wrong door and had to endure a terrible nasal swab against his will. But this isn't the worst thing his nose has had to endure. In fact, let's not forget about his backpack with the rotten fish inside. How funny. Comets. 3 scientists, Papaia, Banani, and Ravioli, and their assistant Igor work at the Nasal Observatory. During a trip to a big conference, they find some interesting books and start getting into creationism. But their bosses don't like this new interest. The 4 are called into the boss's office, where he tells them they'll need to pass a psychological test to keep their jobs. But they go to the wrong door by mistake. That's the infirmary, where Ravioli is forced to undergo a painful nasal swab. We are in the waiting room of the infirmary where Papaia and Banani are waiting for Ravioli, who is taking the test. Banani: What do you think, Papaia? Does that mean the Big Bang is wrong? Papaia: I don't know, Banani. But apart from the numbers not adding up, there's also evidence that the universe can't possibly be as old as billions of years. Banani: Evidence? What evidence? Papaia: There are various ones. One of them comes from comets. Banani: Comets? How so? Papaia: Aren't comets covered in ice? Banani: Oh, yes, that's true. I saw it in a documentary once. The ice vaporizes when the comet gets close to the sun, and that's why we see the characteristic tail. Papaia: Exactly. And the ice in the tail? Where does it go? Have you ever wondered? Banani: Honestly, no. Maybe it disperses into space. Papaia: Exactly. Every time a comet passes near the sun, it loses some ice. Now imagine comets that approach the sun every 70 years during their orbit. Banani: Like the famous Halley's Comet? Papaia: Yes, like Halley's Comet. What do you think happens after this comet passes by the sun 1,000 or 100,000 times? Banani: I don't know. I guess it burns out, having no more ice for the tail. Papaia: So, if the solar system were millions of years old, how many comets would have already burned out? Banani. All of them, obviously. Banani thinks about it for a while. Banani. Maybe they recharge somewhere, like in the asteroid belt. Papaya. Surprised. Nice thought. I didn't expect that from you. Anyway, other researchers have thought the same thing, but so far, there's no evidence to support this hypothesis. Igor. Comets are shutting down forever. Just like our office lights when the boss kicks us out of the building. No ice, no tail, no job, just empty space. How funny. Faster than light. 3 scientists, Papaya, Banani, and Ravioli, and their assistant Igor work at the Nasal Observatory. During a trip to a big conference, they find some interesting books and start getting into creationism. But their bosses don't like this new interest. The 4 are called into the boss's office, where he tells them they'll need to pass a psychological test to keep their jobs. But they go to the wrong door by mistake. That's the infirmary, where Ravioli is forced to undergo a painful nasal swab. We are in the waiting room of the infirmary, where Papaya and Banani are waiting for Ravioli, who is taking the test. Papaya and Banani, who were talking in the waiting room, are interrupted by Ravioli's screams. Papaya, did you hear those screams? Banani, yes, but what was that? The door opens and Ravioli comes out with tears in his eyes. Ravioli, guys, I told you it was the wrong place. They just gave me a nasal swab. Nurse, next please. Papaya, your turn, Banani. I need to go to the bathroom for a moment. Banani, go ahead, Igor. I'm giving you my spot. Papaya, where's Igor? Without being noticed, Igor has already fled. Nurse, come on, Banani, over here. No, what are you doing? That's the exit. The swab is this way. But Banani runs down the hallway as fast as he can. Papaya, wait, I'll go tell him. Papaya vanishes even faster than Banani. Ravioli, hey, where are you going? Wait for me. Igor, just a moment ago, Papaya and Banani were talking about comets. Then, they found out they had to get a nasal swab. What do those 2 things have in common? Those 3 are just like comets. They have brilliant minds, and when they saw the swab, they bolted at astronomical speed. How funny. Season 3, Episode 7, Professor Fagioli, The Problem of the Moon. 3 scientists, Papaya, Banani, and Ravioli, and their assistant Igor work at the Nasal Observatory. During a trip to a big conference, they find some interesting books and start getting into creationism. But their bosses don't like this new interest. The 4 are called into the boss's office, where he tells them they'll need to pass a psychological test to keep their jobs. But they go to the wrong door by mistake. That's the infirmary, where Ravioli is forced to undergo a painful nasal swab, while the others take flight. We are in one of the many corridors of the building, where the 4 are running away from the nurse. After a long chase, the nurse, exhausted and out of breath, gives up pursuing the scientists. Banani, we lost him. Ravioli, thank goodness I couldn't run any further. Papaya, but we still need to find the room. Ravioli, hey, I know where it is. Banani, really? Where? Ravioli, before I had my swab test, the nurse said it's the room next to his. Papaya, perfect, let's go, we're already late. As they head back, the discussion about the Big Bang continues. Banani, you said there's evidence the Big Bang is wrong, right, Papaya? Papaya, yes, and I told you about the comet problem. Banani, right, but now I'm curious. Are there other issues? Papaya, absolutely. For example, another problem is the origin of the moon. Banani, what's wrong with the moon? Papaya, according to evolutionary theory, planets form from material expelled from the star they orbit. The material separates, moves away, cools down, and becomes a planet. Banani, got it, I'm following. Papaya, now, moons usually form in a similar way, from excess material that separates, moves away, and cools down. Banani, is that how the moon was formed? Papaya, you see, Banani, that's exactly the problem. If the moon had formed this way, its orbit should be different. Banani, how do cosmologists explain it? Papaya, several hypotheses have been proposed, but none fit the observed data well. The formation of the moon is still a mystery. Banani, what's your take on it? Papaya, in Genesis, we read that God created the moon on the 3rd day. Banani, and why did he make it like that? Papaya, I'm not sure. Maybe to ensure things like tides and plant growth that allow us to survive? Banani. Yeah, who knows? Igor. Banani's book shows us that the moon can't be explained by evolutionism. And honestly, neither can Banani. Probably the only one who understands both is God. How funny. The right door. 3 scientists, Papaia, Banani, and Ravioli, and their assistant Igor work at the Nasal Observatory. During a trip to a big conference, they find some interesting books and start getting into creationism. But their bosses don't like this new interest. The 4 are called into the boss's office, where he tells them they'll need to pass a psychological test to keep their jobs. But they go to the wrong door by mistake. That's the infirmary, where Ravioli is forced to undergo a painful nasal swab, while the others take flight. We are in one of the many corridors of the building, where the 4 are running away from the nurse, and they are still looking for the right door. Ravioli, "Hey, we're here, guys. Here's the right door." They knock on the door, Ravioli pointed out. This time it's opened by Professor Fagioli, the official psychologist for Nasal. Fagioli, well, the 4 scientists. "What happened? You're late." Ravioli, "Let's just say we had a big setback." Fagioli, "Anyway, let me introduce myself. I'm Professor Fagioli, and I'll be your psychologist for the aptitude test." Papaia, "Pleased to meet you, Professor. Sorry for being late. We had trouble finding the room." Ravioli, "It's the janitor's fault. He gave us the wrong information." Fagioli, "Why did you ask the janitor for directions? Didn't I send you a message, Papaia?" Papaia, "Oops, so that wasn't an ad." Banani, "How did you confuse a work message with an ad?" Papaia, I thought Professor Fagioli was a new brand of canned beans." Igor is secretly laughing. Fagioli, showing his phone, "Excuse me, Papaia, but how could you mix this up?" "Look here," the message says, "See you tomorrow at 8 a.m. for the session and aptitude test. My office is on the 3rd floor, room A. Best regards, Professor Fagioli." Papaia, I think I only read the last part." Ravioli, "Oh, Papaia. Are you saying I had to endure an extra-large nasal swab because you didn't properly read a clear text message?" At that moment, someone enters the room. It's the nurse who has found them. Nurse, "There you are, I found you." Banani, "How did you find us?" Nurse, "Weren't you supposed to be here for the test?" Banani, "Oops, that's right." Ravioli, smirking, "Now you'll have to do the swab too?" Nurse, "Well said, Ravioli. I've already opened your files and the regulations require me to complete the test. I can't leave the job unfinished." While Ravioli stays in the psychologist's waiting room, the other 3 are forced to follow the nurse to undergo the painful extra-large nasal swab. Yo. Ravioli watches Papaia's exit, rubbing his hands with vengeful satisfaction. Don. Fagioli, "Very well. Since we're already late, let's not waste more time. You're up first, Ravioli." Ravioli enters the psychologist's office. In the distance, the screams of the 3 unfortunate souls undergoing the extra-large nasal swab echo. Fagioli, "This scene makes me nostalgic for the good old days of quarantine." Sweet memories. Ravioli thinks, stereotypes say psychologists are a bit odd. I've always been against that prejudice. But now, one question troubles me. Did I sit on the right side of the desk? Igor later commented, Fagioli was probably the only person on Earth who actually enjoyed quarantine, especially when trapped in his 12-square-foot apartment. He would fantasize about being the president of the Virus Containment Committee. And just like he usually did with his patients during their sessions, imposing his strict rules on everyone. How funny. Thanks for watching. SavedBlog.com